There we go. And now we're on. Ron Brunty says, Heidi Ho. Connie Cleary says, hello, Janet and Grim. Wiki Bobby says, I'm back. Welcome back, Wiki Bobby. We've got the Night Owls now joining us. And yeah, we're just getting situated here. This will be a shorter version of the Harry Scary Hangover, because we're going to film a few promo clips before the night is over. But we wanted to still, chat and talk movies a little bit with you guys. So we'll give it a minute or two, let some more people creep on into the chat. There's Jennifer Delaney. Hello, Miss Jennifer. Okay. Very cool. Can you guys hear us okay? Jennifer says, hey, Grim, love your Halloween shirts.
Oh, you could see that?
Yeah,
well, those lays were covering it up before, so.
Yeah, that's a nice shirt.
I want to get those off of me so I can have a different look for this part of the show.
Paul F. says, hi, it's Mr. Hot Dog. So he's joining us. John
Cool.
Biggins is here.
He's pretty cool for a hot dog.
Connie says, yes, we are heard. We're good.
Okay.
So all is well there.
I could always sit on it.
That's what the Fonz would tell us to do.
Sit on it, yeah. All right. Oh, gosh. All right, here we go.
Wow. Okay, so we just wrapped up. Well, let's introduce ourselves, and then we'll...
Yes, pretend it's a whole separate different show. Because
yes.
People will watch it separately, or could.
They could, yeah.
All right, here we go. Me.
Okay.
Hey, what's buzzing, cousins? I'm Grim Gaudy.
And I'm Janet Decay.
And you be watching the
Mummy and the Monkeys
Harry Scary Hangover.
Yeah, so this is the after show.
Woo-hoo.
On Friday nights, we usually host the Mummy and the Monkeys Harry Scary Hangout, where it skits bits in a scary flick.
True that.
Or a really cheesy B-movie flick that's in the public domain.
Facts.
And then we wrap everything up there, and we chat about movies or whatever. It's a little more loosey-goosey in the Harry Scary Hangover.
Double facts.
Yeah. So, let's see. Okay. The topic that I thought would be interesting, so we know of the horror film genre, scary movies. In general, yeah. It's scary movies and all the different movie monsters and things like that. Well, there's different subgenres of the genres. And the subgenre we're going to talk about or discuss
there we go.
Is called natural horror.
Natural
horror. So this episode will be all natural.
About like nude, naked stuff?
No.
Like all natural?
No, not going in the nude. This is about...
I'm more interested in all natural horror.
This is about killer plants and animals in movies.
That's no fun.
So it's like when nature goes amok.
But they are naked, so...
And then goes and like eats people or whatever.
Amok?
When nature goes awry. So like an example would be Jaws.
Oh.
That would be considered a natural horror. A killer shark. He's going around killing everyone, scaring everyone.
But that's what they do.
It is what they do.
So it's not
this
from
one
an
was like a giant killer
It's not
shark.
an environmental issue where some sort of like toxin leaks into the water, to the air, and drives the animals crazy, or makes them grow giant like in
that might be
food of the gods.
That could be a part of it.
H.G. Wells.
It just has to do, nature, whether it be regular nature or nature that people were messing with.
Or would that be a sub-genre because it's affected animals? I mean, what is the catalyst of the animals being vicious? Like Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear would be considered a natural horror film. Because it's a bear that's running amok.
A controlled substance.
Yes, he got a hold of some drugs that were man-made, and yeah.
From the coca leaf.
Yeah, it's plant-based technically.
Yeah, so
it's a natural horror film.
So there are even sub-genres to that subgenre. You think about it, because I'm just trying to figure out.
I don't know who makes this stuff up, but I'm just letting you know what I read.
So let's clarify. Well, okay, but knowledge is power. So the subgenre you're talking about, I'm just trying to understand what we're talking about. Is it just killer animals like a shark? Like Jaws, who again was just a giant great white that did what a great white does and eat everything it sees.
So it could be a plant or an animal that's in a horror film.
Okay.
So I don't believe it's
mutant or otherwise.
I don't believe it's necessarily specified whether it's a mutation. Like, wow,
that was
you're
a
on a roll
mutation.
there. Yeah.
Pizza and water, it's a deadly combination for me.
So it may be like from people messing with nature, or it might be just nature, like, you know,
so it's all part of
shark
that.
is eating people.
Right.
It could be, I guess it could go either way.
What about Sharknado?
Sharknado? Yeah, why not? We could throw Sharknado in there.
Which is way better than Sharknado.
Ooh,
which is not animal, but the Sharknado would be a whole different.
That's a whole different thing.
problem.
Is that when you're crapping your pants when you're in a tornado?
You don't want to know. Yeah. So, or
you ate too much Torgo Bell and then you're like sucked up by the tornado?
Or you crap your pants like it was a tornado.
Wow.
Creating your own Sharknado.
These are the questions that keep us up at night.
Yeah. See, Harry, scary hangover. You never know what's going to pop up.
I mean, mine just blown. Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the Harry Scary Hangout is like a Viagra testing facility. You never know what's going to pop up.
Wow, okay then.
Just saying. Anyway.
So there's a ton of comments right now. Let's dive into these comments.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Is snakes on a plane included?
That's what we're trying to figure. It's anything animal.
I think that would be included because some idiot brought snakes onto a plane that shouldn't have.
But I guess I'm confused.
But it's involving nature, and they're like killing people, and it's a horror film.
So I guess I'm confused with the actual name of it, the subgenre.
Well, this is what I read off of the internet.
Yeah.
Subgenre of horror: movies involving animals and plants.
Okay, so they could be.
So it didn't really specify.
Drugged ones, or
I was just researching different topics of horror
Gotcha.
to maybe talk about.
So so like a movie like Jaws or Kingdom of the Spiders, or that are just like natural animals out of control.
Hold on, there's a ton of comments. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
People are mentioning movie titles.
Good.
So
throw them out
maybe
there.
You'll agree. Killer Shrews? Would you agree?
Those are mutated existing things.
But they are creatures.
Yes, but yeah.
It's like
I'm asking you, does that fit in there? I don't know.
I think that would work.
Okay.
Yeah, because the natural horror didn't specify that they had to be all organic. Maybe they are mutated.
All organic. Ugh.
They aren't like free range organic.
Oh, please, with the terms. You're killing me with this.
They're not gluten free.
Please. Please, no more of these new terms that mean nothing.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, says Randall.
No, but then it's no, it doesn't, because it's not an animal.
Well, they're plants.
Oh, that's
Tomato. It could be animal or plant.
Right. Okay. So I guess.
So Killer Tomatoes, I think, would work.
Yeah, sure.
The frogs, that would work.
Frogs is good. Yep.
Cujo, says Jennifer.
Of course.
Cujo would work.
Because he had rabies. He wasn't mutated, but he was sick.
He was sick. He was really messed up. Poor dog.
All of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
Little Shop of Horrors would be
Little Shop of Horrors, yeah. Deadly Mantis, says Randall.
So are we naming movies, or are we going to talk about any of this?
Well, we could talk about the movies. A lot of people are mentioning movies, but if you want to talk about particular movies, go for it.
That's the only two choices we have right now. We can just mention movies, or we talk about some of the movies. Like, okay.
So and why do you like them so much? Or what makes
I never said I did.
Oh, okay.
No, of course I like all.
Well, think of one that it stands out.
I like, all the giant bug movies are fun. Like, the Deadly Mantis is great. That's one I can watch over and over again.
Isn't there an ant one too?
Them,
yes.
Yeah, and there's that, and then there's the one I haven't seen yet with John Goodman. What is that one? Matinee.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, that's one I haven't seen, and I know people want to strangle me when they hear that.
You need to see it.
It's on the the docket, but there's a billion films we need to watch still.
Oh yeah.
But that one has but that's a sort of an homage to those old 50s giant insect movies, which was a thing, in the 50s. That was because
it was during the atomic age. That whole thing.
Right.
So
when radiation would affect anything, they just went ahead and Hollywood made everything from giant bugs to giant people.
Yeah, it was like the trend at the time because of current events and politics and wars and such.
And people's worry, and it was actually a scary thing to people back then. It was
a scary thing because, it's still a scary thing. All these years later, it's still a scary topic.
But so far we haven't seen any giant bugs.
No giant bugs. No.
And
maybe murder hornets. We had that a few years ago.
Well, those were just big ones, but
they were just giant.
But anything colossal, then that's the other thing. And then you get the scientists that come in, and they go, look, even if a mantis could grow the size of a 50-foot building, the problem with it is The way that what's interesting about everything, the scale is very important. Anything a certain height, organic would be harder for them to live in this current atmosphere, because with gravity and other and just the way they're constructed,
the exoskeletons,
they're actual right
because
the way
they're built, it would be difficult for an insect to be that big,
right?
It actually wouldn't work in real life,
which is interesting to know. But but that takes all the fun out of it.
It does. So I need my nerd glasses to push up when I say that.
Yeah.
Well, technically,
but the crazy thing about bugs, they don't even have to get that big for people to be afraid of them.
No.
Or dogs or anything.
There's some bugs that are freaky, and they don't have to be 50 feet tall to be freaky.
Yeah, and bugs, I would say, are a lot less afraid if they even... I don't even know if they have a fear instinct, like animals do, like mammals and stuff, because, they seem to not care how big something is. They'll just go right after you. I mean, would you attack... Let's say you had a knife that would be like a stinger, to a bee.
Yeah.
If you saw something that was... I don't know how much bigger we are.
25 feet tall or something?
Bigger, whatever times bigger
and
a
I'm
bee
chasing
to us
after a giant that's
with a knife would you do that? Probably not. You probably run the other way.
Those bugs are pretty fearless.
But they don't seem to care. And we're scared as hell of them.
Well, and with honeybees, they're like little kamikaze pilots because when they sting you, they die.
Yes.
So, because their whole goal is to protect the queen.
Yeah, their barb stays into your skin, and there's a venom sac that pops off with it.
Yes.
And it pumps the venom into you. And it's in the bee sting, unless you're allergic to them.
You're learning something on the Mummy and the Monkey.
But a wasp, and they could just jab you like a little knife, and keep going at it.
And in the insect kingdom, the females are the...
aggressor.
They are very aggressive. They are more aggressive than the males.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
So with honeybees and wasps, it's always the queen.
So when it comes to anything giant,
spiders, it's
and so in horror movies, if there's an overgrown insect or a person like the colossal, Attack of the Colossal Giant or the 50-foot woman,
yes,
it couldn't actually biologically work because the gravity would crush something that big.
Yeah, it wouldn't
organic.
work for their build.
No.
And their exoskeletons.
No.
But
anyway,
we're not
took all the fun out of giants and everything,
but bugs are interesting to read about. We're nerds.
So more killer. So Cocaine Bear is a new movie coming out, or it's out
now. It's out now, and people are saying it's really good.
Yeah, I want to see it. And that one guy's in. I can't remember the comedian's name.
Oh, that one comedian guy we like.
Oh, with the mustache. We like him so much we don't know his name. Scott something. Scott.
He makes fun of employee. Like working in retail.
Got a great
stuff.
TikTok channel.
Yeah.
He's got a weird last name. He's in it.
That's okay. Let's read some more comments. Connie Cleary said Gremlins, that could be.
Well, are they? No, those are monsters. Those aren't necessarily actual.
Well, they're creatures.
Yeah.
A mogwai.
But it's not natural, though.
But he's a little animal. He's like some type of exotic.
Well, Godzilla would be a
creature.
natural? No.
Godzilla, not. He has a lizard.
Yeah, but a mogwai doesn't exist.
Mogwais do in the world of Gremlins.
And so
in the movie Gremlins.
Yeah, but Godzilla doesn't.
Well,
it's an imaginary.
Godzilla, no, he has a real. Well, in the
Oh my
movies,
God. You're losing me here.
No, we're talking about movies that have animals and plants.
But Godzilla's not an animal.
Godzilla is an animal.
It's a fantasy creature.
Well, he's a creature. He's not a human. So what is he? An animal, right? What are lizards? Animals?
It's
Lizards?
Well, you just said Godzilla wasn't, but Gremlins were, but they're both fake.
I said Godzilla and Gremlins were both animals.
So Mothra is one of those?
Mothra, yes. Mothra could be an animal, right?
Any kaiju then?
Yeah, I think because they're creatures. King Kong, he's an animal.
Well, he was just a giant ape.
He's a giant
ape. And apes exist.
Okay.
Godzillas don't exist.
But they don't. They're not like 100 feet tall like King Kong.
No, but but neither is a giant scorpion, and that's still.
Well, neither do Sharknadoes exist, and we said that.
Yeah, but it's a shark. But a Godzilla isn't a real animal. You know the difference, right?
You're not following.
They
are in their movie world. In their movie world, they do exist. In the real life here, they don't. But we're talking about in the movies.
I don't think that fits.
Grim, you're not understanding. Yes, Godzilla was atomic produced, but
he was a dinosaur.
He was
maybe.
Because dinosaurs were on the planet.
Yeah, which Godzilla are we talking about?
I don't know any of them.
They're all different.
I don't know, just the OG Godzilla.
OG Godzilla was a thing like the current Godzilla, where it was a titan. It was a giant creature that lived on the earth a long time ago
Yes.
that got brought back to life.
So
But
okay.
didn't really exist. There's
And
no
there you
such thing.
go. But we're talking about a movie. A Sharknado
think
doesn't
it- I
really
think-
exist.
I know that.
But that qualified earlier.
That's not what I mean.
But you agreed to that one.
I'm saying there's a delineation between a fantasy creature and a real
But
animal.
Sharknadoes don't really exist.
But
sharks
sharks
exist, but not
do.
a Sharknado.
Well, but what does that mean?
50-foot spiders don't really exist, but there's movies about them. So,
No,
and that would qualify. It totally would.
I'm just asking, does it?
I
Okay.
said it would.
What does the audience say?
Yeah. I mean, do you think Godzilla qualifies? I do.
Well, then anything would. Then the Never-Ending Story. There's a made-up that furry dragon. That's not an animal.
Which one? Never-Ending Story?
Yeah, there's a
that's
bunch
not
of-
a horror film. That's a fantasy film. It's an adventure kids movie.
But Godzilla's a horror film?
Godzilla's kind of like a sci-fi
Oh, there you
movie,
go.
horror film. Well,
Not-
he does kill people. It's like
Wait
a
a minute.
sci-fi movie, like a kind of like a horror
So
film.
how far is the crevasse between a horror, sci-fi, and fantasy?
So CTAC says no to Godzilla.
Thank you.
Greg says Godzilla, yes.
See?
Drake's like, what's the topic? He's so confused. Let's fill people in if they're just now joining us.
I think we need a deeper
The
dive.
topic we're talking about is natural horror films. It's a subgenre of horror movies, and it involves killer plants, killer animals,
And Godzilla's.
and maybe Godzillas. We're debating whether or not Godzilla.
What would that Winnie the Pooh movie?
Well,
Blood and Honey?
He technically is a bear.
It's a guy though.
And he kills
Is it a
people.
guy dressed up as a
Oh,
bear?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
I think it's a guy dressed up as a bear.
I
It
didn't
doesn't
see it.
doesn't count.
Frogs.
Right, because
The killer frogs.
we already talked frogs.
that would work.
We already said that.
Okay, well, Portal put it in the comments. I was just reading it again. Mothman, Bigfoot, would those qualify? Well, Bigfoot I don't think kills people. Unless if
Yes, he
they're-
does in the horror
Oh,
movies.
in the horror films he does. Yeah, in the horror films he does. You're right.
I'm so
you're right.
confused.
Why are you that confused? You shouldn't be.
Well, because I'm trying to understand like how far we're going here. Like where are we playing? What field are we playing
Day
in?
of the Triffids, says Gary.
That's a killer plant. Yeah.
Killer plant, yeah. Okay, so like Little Shop of Horrors,
Killer
Audrey
plant.
2, Killer
Made up
Plant.
killer plant.
But they're all made up. They're movies. They're not real.
not
None
talking
of them
about-
are real, Grim. I'm talking about the natural horror subgenre. Like what movies we like from that. They're all movies. They're all made up.
I know that the movie's made up, but they're based on actual things that are alive or have lived, as opposed to something that was made up, which doesn't.
Well, Audrey 2 didn't really live.
It was a
or
cross between the
exist.
Venus flytrap. I know that. So the question is, does that count?
I think it
Or
counts.
does it have to be
I
like
think it counts.
a plant that kills you?
No, I think it's fine.
Yeah, but it was based on plants that exist. Again, it was a Venus flytrap and some Japanese plant. That's remember the original movie. That's what Crowboy said.
Okay, well let's find
Seymour.
stuff. If you're being that particular,
I'm not. I'm trying to understand where we're
let's
playing.
find movies that are more so like Piranha.
They were
Okay.
freshwater. Were they freshwater ones?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were. I
They
think
were
some-
piranhas and they ate people,
yeah.
like piranhas do. They
Right.
could eat people.
They weren't mutated and they
No.
weren't giant.
They
were
were
just
natural.
piranhas that were out of the Amazon and somehow got to a beach
Yes.
and were eating people. Yeah, those of course count.
Okay, so that would work. What about slugs?
There's a movie called Slugs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I'm.
Well, there's real slugs.
Okay,
Yeah.
well that's why I brought it up because of the movie.
Right.
I'm not just. Okay. Let's read some more comments. Insane J says, "Eaten Alive, killer alligator movie with Robert England." Ooh.
Why not? Or what,
Yeah.
Lake Placid.
Lake
about a
Placid?
giant alligator.
That would work. Yeah.
So yeah, to me that's a different. To me, in my opinion, that's a different thing than Godzilla. But a giant mantis movie is still in the same category of Lake Placid because it's an irradiated thing that existed.
But it's still mutated. It's not
It's
necessarily
fine.
natural.
And that's what I asked.
That's
him.
not.
If you rewind this conversation into the beginning, I asked
Well, no.
that
I'm
first.
going by your by what your.
I don't know what the parameters are.
Well,
I'm asking.
I didn't put out any parameters.
Okay.
There was never, as far as I know, there aren't any.
This is the first I've heard of the subgenre, so I don't know what the...
That's the first I heard of it, too.
What it encompasses, so I'm just trying to figure it out. I don't know.
It popped up when I was looking up things on Google. So. Killer Doberman movies. Are there?
Yes, there is.
There's
yes, there's.
I've never seen those.
There's a movie called what is it? There's two of them. There's one called Hellhound.
Okay.
That's about a killer Doberman, I think it's a Doberman, not a German Shepherd. But then there's the Boys from Brazil. With that was about like the Hitler clones or something. But there's some Dobermans. It's not about killer Dobermans, but Hellhound is.
Oh, okay.
I wish we could show that one. That's one I've seen pop up here and there on some indie movie host stuff. But I don't think I think it's got copyrights on it.
The Doberman Gang, says Greg. And then Cujo, yeah, we talked about
Saint
Cujo
Bernard,
earlier.
Yep, a rabid Saint Bernard.
Mm-hmm. Because that would be more. Yep.
Because when we first started talking about this, one of the first movies that popped into my head was the H.G. Wells, not World, Food of the Gods.
Okay, so hold on a sec. Ron is correcting us, and I may be in the wrong about the Godzilla. He says, for this topic, the animal and plants must have a direct connection to an existing animal.
That's what I'm trying to...
Godzilla has death ray breath no dinosaur ever did.
Right. It's a fantasy.
Well, but if you go by that logic, no killer mantises were like 50 feet tall. So would that not count?
Yes, it would, because, listen, in that movie, and it's true that a lot of... Now, they were exaggerating the bigness of this mantis to make it, more dramatic. But a lot of creatures that crept upon the earth in the old days, during dinosaur times, millions of years, were a lot bigger. Not that big. They found millipedes that were like, 20 feet long, and dragonflies that are at 6 foot wingspan. They were big. I mean, bigger than they have now. But that's because there was a different environment.
Not as big as the ones in the movies.
But so all they did was but what you're not understanding, or what you keep blocking your mind to think, is that they're based on actual things that we have today. Even if it was an insect that was extinct.
Not necessarily blocking my mind. I'm thinking about
You're not seeing the difference.
It's movies, and they're based off of animals.
We know this,
but they're not exact.
Right. That's fine.
Okay.
See, that's they're taking liberal. They're taking. They're just having fun with the proportions, but it's an existing creature, or existing insect or animal.
Well,
that's just giant.
Here's a good comment. Princeton Vice Presents says, "How long before someone argues humans are animals too?"
Right. Well, then that's every horror movie.
Well, I think humans are the scariest animal.
So that's what I was trying to figure out. That's in the beginning of this conversation, because to me, in my mind, I see different strata. To me, there's a difference between a movie like Day of the Animals, where a bunch of animals, regular size, go berserk and kill people, from whatever, the heat, or, like I said, some chemical that just drove them nuts. That's different than Food of the Gods, the H.G. Wells story he wrote back in the 1800s, about animals eating something that, I think it was either, I don't know if a man created or if it came out of the earth. There was some crap coming, and it made them grow giant.
Okay.
Right, and I think that was an allegory for man polluting or something like that. He just tried to say, well, what if something we did or nature did made these things grow giant, which probably could never happen, and if it could, they wouldn't be able to move anyway. But that's a different movie than like Day of the Animals or Jaws, because that's just a shark, not irradiated, it's just a great white.
Some good comments here. David Phillips, thanks for making this a debate. It makes life easier and funnier. People I guess they like us going back and forth here. Paul says, I disagree. I think Godzilla counts. Atomic breath doesn't bother me. Killer tomatoes don't roll around and kill people. I feel both count.
Well, that's what so that's the question. Is like, I don't know. You brought the topic up. I didn't do any research on it.
I did just maybe 2 seconds of research. I just wanted to talk about something fun for the show.
You're like every other person in this world. 2 seconds of research and you know it all.
I didn't say I knew it all. Did I say once?
I'm joking.
Did I say once that?
So
and then Tony Beller says, why does Grimm sound smarter in the Hangover show than in the Harry Scary Hangout?
Because I put on my intellectual, my monkey brain switches gears. I don't know.
And then Princeton says, I, for one, welcome our new Mummy and Monkey overlords.
Because I'm not sitting on my mic for this. I guess that's the difference. The different part of me's talking. Different end of me.
Ron says, Janet's definition is too broad in that aliens would meet her definition of an animal. Well, technically they are animals, but they're from another planet.
We don't even know they exist.
They do exist.
Prove it.
We're talking about movies here. This is all fantasy
I know
anyway.
we're talking about movies, but that's not the point. The point is so maybe I perhaps am reading into it too much, but all I want to do is make sure that we're talking about the right the category, we're staying in the category. So because I see different, like I said, there's different tiers of this to me, There's a totally different thing between Jaws and the Deadly Menace, because maybe the Deadly Menace doesn't qualify because it's a fantasy version of something that can never get that big. And like I said, if you go to the beginning of this, you'll see me trying to hash this all out in my own mind, because I don't know where to go with this. Because I could talk about, I don't want to talk about the Deadly Menace if we should be talking about Day of the Animal, which is two different things.
I'm loving these comments. Janet, okay, is Roar a horror movie? Okay. Monkey needs a monocle in this segment, says Portal.
So let's talk
Janet
about...
is a lumper, Grim is a splitter.
Let's talk about any of those movies, because I like, let's just get into a movie. Let's dig into one.
Sure.
I wish we had seen Cocaine Bear, because that would have been a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, we need to see that one still. Have you guys seen it?
That totally qualifies for that subgenre based on what you read.
Yeah,
because it's a regular animal.
That totally would.
A bear will kill you anyway.
What about Pet Sematary? Would that count?
It's supernatural.
I wrote it down as one that might work.
I'd say it's closer to count than Godzilla.
Because it has, like pets coming back from the dead, and
it's a supernatural take on an existing creature.
His Church, the little gray cat.
Mm-hmm.
So the original, I think, is always the best. The remake wasn't that bad.
No, you're right. Go ahead.
Honestly wasn't that bad. We watched it not too long ago.
Right. I thought, oh, here we go. Here's the weird thing about the remake, because of course the original is good, and that whole cutting the Achilles tendon scene with the scalpel is just disturbing as hell. But in the remake, it was one of those weird movies where I think up until the end I didn't like it. Then at the end I'm like, oh my God, they flipped it. I loved it, what they did at the end. I don't want to give anything away if you've seen it. But they did something I didn't expect. I'm like, oh, that's dark AF. But I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty decent. I don't normally like remakes, but I thought that remake was alright.
That's one I'd visit again. But yeah, that's a supernatural tale. So, I mean, it's a horror movie, so it's got to have some element of horror to it,
yeah,
right?
so you hope it has like some kind of supernatural element or a mutation or something like that.
So to me,
are you okay there?
Based on the definition you gave at the beginning of the show, Pet Sematary qualifies more than Day of the Animals does, because I don't think Day of the Animals was a horror movie necessarily. It was horrible what the animals did, but they were just screwed up from some, again, crap in the water type of thing, and it drove them nuts, or it was too hot that day or something.
Yeah.
But is that a horror movie, or is that just like a disaster
if they're
movie?
killing people, that might. I guess that could go into maybe the horror genre and disaster movie.
I don't know what that would even fall under. Because Pet
or
Sematary,
subgenre, whatever you call it.
Pet Sematary is a horror movie.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But Cocaine Bear is not.
There's always buts. The Birds, yes.
Horror movie.
That is. I had it written down, and Princeton brought it up. I think a few others mentioned The Birds also. David Phillips says, what about Jaws? Yeah, we talked about Jaws earlier.
That's a great
Jaws
song, too, by Heart. What about Jaws? Don't you want someone to bang you? Hey, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, because Alfred Hitchcock, or some people say Albert Hitchcock.
It's Alfred Hitchcock.
The same people that probably say Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi.
He sucked at making horror movies.
What? Okay, anyway.
It's definitely a horror movie, yes. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, Jaws qualifies.
Oh.
Attack of the Giant Leeches, says James Muscarella. I think that would qualify.
Because even Attack of the Little Leeches would be terrible.
All right, so it's around the half-hour mark.
So?
We should probably wrap it up in a few.
This is hot. This is a hot debate.
Well, a horror host friend, Bobby Gammonster, is needing a little video for a future episode.
Yes.
So we're going to do a little congratulatory video.
It's going to take hours.
Hopefully it doesn't take long.
We'll have a big debate about whether 300
Yeah,
is
we'll probably
really,
argue over something while making the
is
video.
300 really a number? I don't know. I'll figure some way to twist that into an argument.
But we still wanted to come on and chat movies with you and argue here on
It was more of a debate than it was a chat. I don't even know what we got out of this.
I don't know. I just feel so confused.
People were just naming movies, and I know I have to do more research. There might be a part 2 to this, okay?
Yeah, maybe we could go into more detail with this later.
I think so. I think some more investigation.
Spring is around the corner. Maybe we could talk more about the natural horror movies.
The phylum.
Yes. Go into it. Oof.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that burp smells unnatural.
Wow, it sure does. It's trapped in this mask too. But anyway, so yeah, that was, I guess, fun. I don't know if everyone out there is like...
It was fun reading the comments, and thanks, guys, for hanging with us. Thank you to the night owls out there.
Yeah. That's an animal.
A night owl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were there any killer owl movies?
Who? What would they get? Well, they're pretty bad. I mean, you've seen those hunting videos.
They swallow a mice whole.
Oh, they're raptors, right?
They swallow all the little mousies, and then they like throw up their bones.
They do this all at night, right?
Yeah.
They hunt at night. There's so many movies. There was a movie called Bats I thought was pretty good. You know, way
Bats?
back.
Yeah,
it was a
people
90s
were mentioning
movie.
Bats in the comments.
That was a 90s
comments.
movie. Like just about everything you can imagine has been made into like every animal, I should say, you can imagine. Slugs. I mean,
yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah,
too.
I know, but
yeah.
How do you? What's that? I mean, you can't run away from that thing.
Ooh, Bone Jangler says there's a Fritz the Night Owl.
Yes, all horror all the time. That's true.
So Fritz the Night Owl, he was a horror host from the Columbus, Ohio area. He was on Columbus TV for a long time. So he was kind of like their Big Chuck or their Ghoul or whatever. You know, he was like their personality.
Yeah, he was a really neat horror host from back in the. He actually, we got to meet him at a
Yeah, we met him a couple times. He's so nice.
At a couple conventions,
I hope he's
we got to
doing
meet him. Yeah, very nice too.
Haven't spoken with him in years.
Okay, yeah. So well, anyway, I don't know. The debate still rages on. I guess we'll have to take this up again. Be continued.
To be continued, and you guys can post in the Mummy and the Monkey Facebook group if you like. If you want to post movie stuff in there, you're more than welcome to.
Mm-hmm.
If you're new to the Mummy Monkey group, I have to approve the post because of all the scammers and stuff in there. A lot of fake profiles. Okay, thank you guys again. Good night. Good fright. Mwah. Bye-bye.
Watch out for those giant